I immediately launched into freelance writing, and also that same year I started working. I worked with Vanderbilt University, worked my way in where I helped advise their student news publication and their student website, just as an advisor, just coming in at night once a week. And then I was hired full time for 1 year after that, for 1 school year as journalist in residence, just a contract job. And then I've been here. This is one of my things now. All of that time, and I hear I'm rambling here, all of that time, starting in Clarksville, I wrote a column. And it started out when I was a sports editor, and I wrote a column 6 days a week about not just local sports, but sometimes it was national sports. And that translated into which I enjoyed doing. I wrote about, I got to cover one of Muhammad Ali's prize fights, the last one against Leon Spinks in New Orleans in '78, and I got to know Muhammad Ali a little bit, got to hang out with him, which was cool. And I got to know Henry Aaron and John Wooden, a lot of important people, and I wrote columns about them. And it was fun, but when a new editor came to the paper in Clarksville, he liked my column writing style, but he thought that if just writing about sports was keeping me isolated. So that's when he promoted me to special projects editor. No, first assistant city editor, then a special projects editor. But making the column was actually 4 days a week, 3 days plus a kind of a tidbits column, 3 full columns plus a tidbits column. In the paper, it was a front page column. It was the old-fashioned front page column, slice of life of Clarksville at the time, and that was I liked that a lot. I got to know wandering around the city, and I loved it. And then at the Banner, they actually, because I'd had a lot of success and won a lot of awards locally and regionally for my column writing, they asked me to write a weekly column, not 3 times a week, because I was young and killing myself doing that. But they asked me to do a weekly column on top of my other jobs at the Banner, regardless of where I was, I did the column for all the time at the Banner. It's just slice of life about people, what the actual goal of it is to show people that I'm probably taking too much time, but everybody, we all have the same hopes, dreams, fears, and ambitions. Most of it was dealing with the so-called lower class people, lower societal classes people. And I went into these communities where, primarily minority communities, where the regular Caucasian middle Americans don't go much. And I found a lot of people to write about, and I really loved them. And it was, I'm not saying I did white people too, but my love was actually just going into these places where people said, well, you're going to get killed there. And I said, no, I'm not. And so I just would go there and I'd write these stories about their lives. And everybody has a story, and I was trying to show people that we are all alike. I kind of thought I was told by more than one preacher that I had a special mission in life, and that must be it, which made me feel good. And that was by a black preacher. And so I got to know all these people, barbers and barbecue cooks, barbecue chefs and preachers, and women who are housekeepers for white people by day, but at night were raising 14 children or whatever in some cases. But they also were wonderful people, and I loved them. I love those people. I did meet some bizarre people too, and I did meet some. I wrote about some of them as well. But it won a lot of national acclaim. So when in Clarksville, when I went to the Banner, I did the same thing, same basic thing. Changed the name from Clarksville Calling Card to Real Life at the Banner, and it did the same thing. And I went into communities that journalists still in Nashville don't go into. They don't go. And I was in North Nashville and East Nashville before it became a trendy place, when it was really rough, and just because I liked the people. They liked that at the Banner. I also was telling a lot of stories about World War II vets because they were all dying off, so I tried to do those too. At the Tennessean, I went to the Tennessean, and they didn't offer. At first, they were going to, because I had won the state column writer of the year. The last year the Banner was in existence. It wasn't the first time I won that. But I also was named, I was the national columnist of the year for the national writer of the year, I guess it was, but it was for my columns from the American Society of Sunday Newspaper Feature Editors or whatever it was. It was a big honor. And that was it from the banner. So when I went to the Tennessean, at first I was, of course, copy desk, but then I went to, the editor came and said, I'm going to have you write a column because you won all these awards. I said, great. And I said, how do I start? He said, well, just write me 3, and then I'll get them run through, and we'll see how it goes. So I wrote 3, and then they just let them sit on the desk, which I never, for years, it didn't happen. Finally, I did write a column for them for about 2 years for a neighborhood section called Davidson AM, which again, I did that, and I wrote about it. I still kept to my guns. But then they phased that column out. There's a long story there, but they phased that column out, which bothered me. But that's their prerogative. But I lost what I really liked doing, which was going out and seeing these people. I still miss that. I still go out there. A lot of these people I've kept in touch with over the years, even in Clarksville from 30 years ago. Some of these people in the minority communities still remember me. I was at a funeral just this last weekend, and some people there they remembered when I was there. There was a school teacher. She wasn't in the minority community, but she came up to me, and I hadn't worked in Clarksville since 1988. So I mean, it's not 30 years, but 23 years, whatever, 24 years. She came up to me and said that the reason she was an English teacher was because she loved my writing and the fact of what I was writing about people. And also when she was a high school kid, she and her friends she said she'd had a crush on me, and she and her friends would drive by and hope they would see me walking outside the newspaper, and they said they would always honk and wave, and that I was always kind enough to wave back. So she said that was part of it too, that I was a nice guy, which made me feel good. So I don't know if that took too long, but that's